Good morning, friends. Today is the Sunday before Easter, Palm Sunday. We're moving through Lent, and now the start of Holy Week begins. Now things start getting more intense, more focused. A lot more attention is being put on Jesus. Traditionally, the day before today, Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead. And when it comes to signs and wonders, that's right up there, isn't it? So, healing, yes. Teaching, yes. Raising from the dead. Now Jesus is coming into Jerusalem, and he's coming into Jerusalem in the traditional way that kings come into Jerusalem. How's that? Riding on a donkey. This is the traditional way in that part of the world. So some people say, who's this? Who's this person? Other people say, you've got to be joking. Don't you know who this is? This is Jesus, who teaches us, raises people from the dead, cures lepers, heals people. Most exciting person. And now he's coming into Jerusalem. Some of his disciples, some of Jesus' disciples, misunderstood right to the very end what Jesus was trying to teach and what Jesus was talking about. And they interpreted the kingdom of heaven, meaning that Jesus, as the Messiah, the anointed one, was going to overturn the oppressors, the Romans in this case. All through history, oppressors come with different faces and different names, but here we have the Romans dominating this part of the world. Some of his disciples misunderstood what he was saying and thought he was saying, we're now going to take up arms from somewhere and overthrow the Romans. And they were disappointed. Some of the other disciples understood what the kingdom of heaven was and what it meant to enter the kingdom of heaven, which was the fundamental message of Jesus, a change of heart, an opening of the heart, a connection between the heart and the head. That is the kingdom of heaven. What we would use in 21st century language, using psychological language, a change of mind, a transformation of consciousness. Now, if you look in the New Testament, Jesus doesn't use language like a change of consciousness, but that's what's being asked for. A softening of the heart. How do you go about that? How did Jesus teach about that? He said, love one another as I've loved you. And the disciples tried to put it into action. He said, make sure that you don't go to sleep owing somebody something. Don't go to sleep in the middle of an argument. Sort it all out. Love one another as I've loved you. Open your hearts to the possibility of a new world of the connection, the marriage between heart and head. So that's all in the New Testament. Now that we're coming up to, finally, he's going to speak in the temple every day, and he's going to give this message. So the collect says pretty much what I've said, but it says it more eloquently. O Lord Christ, before whom in thy one earthly triumph the children of the Hebrews did cast their votive palms, grant unto thy faithful servants, that's us, that in thine own good time we too may bear the palm of victory and be found worthy to stand in thy holy presence. What does that mean? That means that the Christian path is a path of transformation. Who's transforming? Us. What are we transforming into? We are transforming more and more into the Christ within. We are becoming more and more Christ-like. Does that sound hard? Does that sound scary? Well, maybe, a little bit. How do you start? You start where you are. What's the first thing you do? The first thing is the first thing. You just do something. What? Find out what it means to do a change of heart. Find out what that means for you. Things like meditation, things like being kind to one another, things like just helping out wherever you can. Don't overdo it. Don't overdo any of this. Just do it as it comes. That's the Christian path. And then what happens? Then the heart opens. And then you hear Christ's voice within you. So why can't you hear it all the time? Why can't you see it on the subtitles on the TV when you're watching TV? Well, this information comes at quiet times, very quiet times. When you're quiet, just sitting or meditating or thinking, not too much thinking, but just quiet thoughts, focused thoughts, the heart opens and this information arises. You've got to develop a new pair of hearing ears, spiritual listening ears to hear it. But everybody can do it. Everybody has this ability. Everybody on earth can walk this path. So in the epistle which Matt read this morning from St. John the Divine, the Revelation is a difficult passage to read unless you realize it's dreamlike language. It's language where you're just sort of waking up from a dream, a very vivid dream, and it's been recorded. It's like a trance-like language. So it's symbolic. What does that mean? It means we don't take it literally. We look at the words and we say, what does that mean for us? How does that resonate in our hearts? Whenever we read a passage, particularly from the Bible, just a sentence, half a sentence, there might be a word or a sentence that resonates. Anything that resonates, that says, you say, oh, that meant something a little bit special. Something that resonates, talks to you, and it's special for you, and it'll be different for everybody. But that is the opening of the heart. When the heart resonates to something you've read or something you hear, pay special attention. Stop and pay special attention. That's your inner voice speaking to you, the Christ within. And so this passage talks about, I heard a great voice of people in heaven, and there's lots of comings and goings, and people are singing, rejoicing, and it's very dramatic, strong language. Alleluia, for the Lord God omnipotent reigneth. Some of these words are from the Messiah, those of you who are musicians. Let us be glad and rejoice and give honor. And I saw heaven opened. So this is a trance-like, this is a dream-like event. And behold, a white horse. And he that sat upon it was called Faithful and True. And then it starts to use language which the John's Gospel starts to use. This is called the Revelation of St. John the Divine. We're not too sure whether they're the same two St. John's, but almost the same language. And his name shall be called Word of God. And how does St. John's Gospel start? In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So there's a connection there between the two. And then this passage finishes, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Here we have something that's observed in a dreamlike state, in a heaven-like state, and then now back to earth, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. So something is happening in heaven, a big consternation. The Gospel then follows from St. Matthew. And now it's the narrative. St. Matthew is recording the narrative. When they drew nigh to Jerusalem, he said to a couple of disciples, go over there and there will be an ass and a colt. This is an interesting passage, isn't it? So how did he sort this out beforehand? There's a lot going on in Jesus' life at this time. It's not necessarily recorded in the Gospel. If anyone says, hey, what are you doing with my donkey? Say, the Lord has need of it, and straightway he'll let you have it. That happened. He comes, they put their clothes on the donkey, they put Jesus on the donkey, the triumphant, conquering king, the victorious one. Everything about this action is absolutely reflected on Jesus and everyone's perception of what he's doing. He has knowledge of what's going to happen next. And when we see depictions of this in film or in paintings, the thing that comes through to me when I see this is the great calm the calmness of Jesus. He's holding it all together. Soon his disciples are not going to hold it all together. The people around him are going to disappear. Popular for 5 minutes, for 15 minutes. He was popular for a week, but particularly popular today. But still great calmness. What an example for us. When there's great turmoil in our lives, when things are going really badly, and then almost as difficult, when things are going ecstatically well, we don't believe it. It's almost the same turmoil inside us when we experience this. What do we do about this? Bring it all back. Bring it all back to the calmness of the heart. And so Jesus is demonstrating to us. Always he gives us examples. Always he shows us. He speaks to us, but then he gives us an example. A very powerful way to teach. And we just have to think about it. How does that work in our lives? How can we apply that in our lives? These are lessons to be learned. And we talk among ourselves. We find out, how do we do that? How do we learn that? The way we usually learn things. And the people shouted, Hosanna to the Son of David. Mary's lineage was in the house of David. The 12 so-called groups, the Jewish groups, the house of David, very prominent one. Blessed is he that cometh in the name of the Lord. They're recognizing the Messiah. They're recognizing that he's coming in the name of the Lord. They weren't too sure what sort of Lord that was. They didn't really listen to him when he was speaking about the Trinity. He was speaking about the Comforter. He was speaking about the Creator. And he was speaking about himself. The three aspects of one: the Creator, the Word, the Comforter. And people were standing there, must have been strangers. Who is this? And the multitude said, really, get a grip. This is Jesus of Nazareth from Galilee. Surely you know him. And so here we are at the end of 3 years, focused teachings, lots of people following him, feeding them with bread, fishes, healing, talking, walking on the water with the disciples. If you just looked in the space of a few minutes and looked at everything that he had done in 3 years, it's just an enormous volume of spiritual teachings, an enormous literature. And it's almost too much, and we sort of get a bit numb, and we get a bit sort of phased out. Oh yeah, walking on the water, yeah, that's pretty good. It just loses reality. That's when we feel that. We've got to bring it all back in and say, let's be quiet, let's be still, let's stop the chattering voice. Let's think about where we are on our spiritual journey, whatever that is, and on the Christian spiritual journey, where are we? So Jesus now began his last week with his physical body. And he's prepared for it. We should prepare for life in the same way. We don't necessarily wake up and say, today we might die, but it's possible. We never think about death when it comes to us, usually. But it's often a very advanced spiritual discipline to do that. And it's done in many cultures, including Christianity. Is it done in a morbid way? No. It's done in a way to say, I'm going to get the very last essence out of life that I can, and particularly today. What are all the things I should do right today? What are all the things I should avoid today? What are all the things I should do that are more Christ-like than I've done in the past? I commend a lot of these thoughts to you. I commend all the actions of Jesus to you. Think about that this week, this starting week of Holy Week. Meditate on this. Take this quietly into your heart and see what that can grow into.